2:14 a.m. You hit refresh on your Stripe dashboard and see 0 notifications. Meanwhile, the Meta Ads Manager tab shows another $450 burned on a lookalike audience that clicked, bounced, and vanished. Industry standards suggest that scaling an info empire requires an exhaustive presence. 3 reels a day, constant YouTube uploads, an email list of 50,000 just to scrape together a 6-figure launch. Agencies prioritize traffic because it is a quantifiable metric they can manipulate to justify their monthly retainers. It allows them to shift the blame for a dismal 0.5% conversion rate onto your landing page copy. Buying media without a back-end conversion mechanism is identical to opening a 50x leveraged position on crude oil without a stop-loss. You aren't investing, you are begging for liquidation. Pumping 10,000 visitors into a funnel that failed to convert 100 targeted visitors will not manufacture a profitable return on ad spend. It will simply bankrupt the business at scale. When the back-end mechanics are ruthless, a business stops being vulnerable to algorithm updates or rising ad costs. Traffic is a commodity, but conversion is leverage. We engineer systems that require aggressively low traffic volume to achieve profitability. The volume-first model on the left drives broad clicks into a long sales letter. It leaks severely. Margins evaporate when ad costs spike. On the right, conversion arbitrage bids on hyper-intent, expensive placements. Clicks cost more, but the funnel has 0 leakage. High-ticket scaling requires the economics to balance at the very first point of entry, rather than waiting 30 days for a prospect to warm up. When you can extract maximum revenue from a microscopic sliver of traffic, you can afford to outspend competitors who rely on volume. Establishing conversion arbitrage begins with the above-the-fold layout. Most landing pages for digital products function as digital brochures. They feature a sprawling hero image and a passive headline about unlocking potential, and a static form demanding a first name, last name, email, and phone number. Looking at this wireframe, demanding multiple fields signals a labor-intensive process. It triggers the exact mental fatigue of unread emails. We strip the interface to its bare essentials. No navigation, no social links, no footers. There is only one exit from this environment, and it requires closing the browser tab. Because you have precisely 3 seconds to halt a scroll, the layout must be designed to force an immediate micro-commitment. Instead of a static email field, the prospect sees an abrasive headline above a high-contrast button. Clicking that button forces the prospect to make a physical micro-commitment. They have initiated the sequence. When they click, a modal window pops up on the screen, dimming the background site. Only now, inside this isolated modal, do you ask for their email address. This specific architecture utilizes the Zeigarnik effect. The human brain desires to complete an opened loop. Because they took the first action of clicking the button, they feel a subconscious need to finish the task, which is why a 2-step modal outperforms a static form. Action breeds compliance. By constructing an environment where the prospect says yes to microscopic decisions, the brain is effectively conditioned by a continuous string of affirmative actions. We then move from that email capture to the first point of financial friction. Sending cold traffic directly to a checkout page and asking for a $3,000 to $5,000 commitment is a common mistake. Instead, we deploy a self-liquidating offer designed strictly to neutralize the ad spend at the point of entry. The goal is not to generate profit on this front-end transaction, but to acquire high-ticket customers at a 0 net cost. This offer must be a tactical, easily consumable asset. Here we see a digital playbook mock-up, priced at $27. This asset must instantly solve one acute problem, offering a tangible framework the buyer can deploy today. This low-friction transaction establishes financial trust, setting the mechanical foundation for the arbitrage sequence. Let's look at the math. Assume it costs $65 in ad spend to acquire a buyer for this $27 playbook. On the surface, the business loses $38 per transaction. This is exactly where amateur media buyers panic and turn their ad campaigns off. Notice this animated checkout ledger. Beneath the $27 core offer, we place a pre-checked order bump, adding a $37 asset. This low-friction addition sees a 40% take rate. Immediately after, a $97 one-click upsell line item drops in, which yields a 15% take rate. This mid-tier offer requires only a single click to add, bypassing a second checkout page. When you blend the core offer, the bump, and the upsell, the average order value jumps to $56.35. You are now acquiring a credit card in hand buyer for a net loss of $8.65. We now examine the immediate aftermath of this transactional sequence. The moment the transaction clears, the buyer experiences a measurable spike in dopamine from the purchase. Because they have already made the psychological leap to trust you with their money, their resistance to the next offer is at its lowest point. Look at this pipeline. We route these buyers instantly past a thank you page and send them directly into the video sales letter for the $5,000 flagship product. This immediate pivot leverages their compliance state, maximizing the probability of a high-ticket conversion. If just 1 in 100 of these routed buyers purchases the flagship course, you generate $5,000 from a cohort that cost only $865 in net ad spend. Math does not care about feelings. It simply scales when the underlying mechanics are sound. To execute this in your own business, you need specific operational resources. This was the high-level blueprint. For the copy-paste templates, scripts, and deployment guides, the full book is linked below.